learned life's most invaluable lesson.
Which is?
Nobody comes.
Ready when you are.
A child threatened with shark attack, domestic abuse, imminent necrophilia. There's a Merry Christmas guaranteed on this I'll Explain Later Winter Warmer, where we mull over that first Magical Moffat festive special, 2010's A Christmas Carol. Have a mince pie, I'm John West.
Putting something special under your tree, I'm Jim Hall.
And furnishing both our listeners with a selection of absolutely incredible cheeses, I'm Matt Needer.
Merry
Christmas! To all of you at home.
Eve.
Both of you at home.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, but you can listen anytime you like.
You can, this is true. I like to think that we are this special bonus episode of I'll Explain Later is soundtracking one of our listeners' desperate rush to the petrol station to pick up a present for the mother-in-law.
Or it may cause a desperate rush. Yes, we're all very excited because we're just ahead of a very special day, which is Moffat leaving day.
Boom.
As is traditional, we've got our annual I'll Explain Later Christmas party here. Food and drink in full effect.
We've listened to Slade, we've listened to the Welsh Elvis, we're all set.
Perfect. John, I mean, I've got to say, all credit to John, who's laid on quite the spread this year. What will our listeners hear us eating throughout?
Well, as
today's
you
show?
know, despite the fact that for a number of years now we've championed their products, we haven't had the buy-in from either M&S or Waitrose that we'd perhaps wanted in terms of the a check or at least some delivered comestibles
Or just George Pravda.
So this year we
That's a terrible joke, Jim.
I've been working on that all year.
wow. I've decided this year that our Christmas buffet has been brought to us by the Co-op, who are, as we all know,
Malcolm
good with
Hulk's-
food.
Malcolm
with
Hulk's
food.
favourite shop.
Good with food. Yes. To wash this down, we have some Taylor's Vintage Port.
Lovely. But
Shall I get that open, Matthew?
Please.
why not crack open the port, John?
Excellent.
All right, so to avoid getting port on my sofa, John has walked over and is now brandishing...
This is podcasting dynamite.
He's now opening the port over my laptop, which doesn't seem to be a
Thank
better
you.
solution. But there you go.
Great Foley work by me.
This is top Foley work, yeah. If financial journalism doesn't work out for you, John, a job on the Archers beckons.
That's where Terry Malloy
Hey.
started. Thank you very much, John. Season's greetings.
I like how once a year we get together and go full Pertwee on the
Oh,
mic.
yeah. I'm in a full purple velvet ensemble. John's dressed as a cleaning lady from The Green Death.
I've had a navy tattoo done.
And you're here in a shower cap.
So-
Cheers, gents.
Cheers.
Ooh, that's nice.
So we've got wonderful food, we've got wonderful drink.
And
We'll bring it all down a notch shortly when we discuss A Christmas Carol, the 2010 Christmas Day special. But John's brought food. I'm hosting. Jim, you've brought something to the table.
Well, we've got some crackers.
Excellent.
Oh,
wouldn't be Christmas without crackers.
So even though John's got a mouthful of stuff, should we go for this?
Where did you get these crackers, Jim?
A shop that strangely materialised and dematerialised immediately after. So who knows, they may have some Doctor Who content to them.
oh,
So who wants to go first?
me.
John, okay.
Right, Jim, you got it.
Yep. I've got my hands clasped.
Oh yeah, I won.
Excellent. So what have we got? Party hat?
Well, obviously I've got the hat. There is a piece of paper. So there's. I imagine there's a joke. It's
deadly serious.
It's a Doctor Who related question. Okay, guys, this is very serious. Of the 9 stories Mark Gatiss has written for New Who, which would you rank 5th?
Dead centre. Now, that might be a bit difficult to remember, which is why I've got these memory cards for you, which you may want to lay out so Matt can have a little look as well. So let's just quickly run through them.
We've got The Unquiet Dead,
Yep.
Idiot's Lantern, Victory of the Daleks, Night Terrors, Cold War, Crimson Horror. What does that say? Robot of Sherwood. Robot of Sherwood.
You've nearly forgotten it.
Sleep No More. And
Empress of Mars.
that thing on Mars. Yes.
Empress of Mars. The thing is, I'm going to say most people are going to probably pick The Unquiet Dead as his best story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sleep No More has a poor rep,
Yeah.
even amongst Gatiss.
But what's going to come fifth?
What's going to come in the middle?
John, you've just got to rank some episodes of Doctor Who. I've seen Crystal Maze puzzles done quicker.
Okay, so obviously Victory of the Daleks is too bad to be 5th. I'm probably going to go Idiot's Lantern as fifth.
Because it's all right, as opposed to one of his best or some of the real dreck he's done.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of how pick and
we're
middling episodes.
we're really in the
Though-
Christmas
though-
spirit here, aren't
Though
we?
I would say The Unquiet Dead isn't bad, right? We all quite like
I
it.
like
Oh,
that.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
it's good.
good, yeah.
And
I'm going to
actually,
say
the
Idiot's
one on-
Lantern is not bad.
But yeah, Sleep No More is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
The one on the Mars one is okay, right? So for me, it's a toss up between the Mars one and Idiot's Lantern. I'm going to go Idiot's Lantern. That's fifth.
Cool.
Solid fifth.
Excellent.
Oh,
We'll do another crack.
So, Jim, if you care to just reach over. Yeah.
Not again. Magic.
Oh, interesting. So, what is your choice for the best and worst Tom Baker story that we have reviewed so far? And the nominations are Ark in Space, Invisible Enemy, Creature from the Pit, Mask of Mandragora, Sunmakers, Horns of Nimon, Deadly Assassin, Reboss Operation, Leisure Hive, Talons, The Pirate Planet, and Meglos. That's interesting. I think we found something to like in all of those, but I am going to say...
I don't remember Invisible Enemy being one of your favourites.
No, I mean, it definitely... I think we're probably hovering with somewhere
What was the
between...
Invisible Enemy again?
It was
I
the
don't remember
ranting
that.
shrimp.
Yes, I'm going to cautiously say that, yeah, Invisible Enemy is probably the worst. In terms of the best, I think it's got to be... It's a very boring answer. I mean, but Talons, I think I did say at the time, we all said at the time, that it's very well made and well executed, but just the racism, I think we've got past the point where that is at all excusable. So it's either Ark in Space or Deadly Assassin, and I am going to say Ark in Space.
Woohoo!
Obviously, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Horns of Nimon. I wouldn't, though, claim that it was the best. I think the worst... I really didn't like Pirate Planet. I thought I was pretty atrocious. I thought it was really dull. So I'm probably going to go for that, because I think at least Invisible Enemy has some sort of batshit, funny, crazy, weird shit going on. But Pirate Planet's...
Shrieking prawn in it.
Exactly, right? And so that's cool.
on.
Yeah, so I'm going to go for Pirate Planet as the least enjoyable. Best and worst. I really loved Mask of Mandragora, because that seems to be like... it's almost like a Pertwee hangover story, but with Tom Baker in full...
After this port, we're all going to be having a Pertwee hangover.
But it's got that sort of sense of daring do, even though it's historical. It's got this sort of real Pertwee vibe to it. But it's Tom Baker on the leash, and it's really good fun. But I think to be really boring, it'd have to be Deadly Assassin for me. That's the best of the ones that we've reviewed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, boom.
Ark in Space is my favourite. Which is the worst? Can I have a look? I'm actually going to say Ribos Operation. I just find it dull.
Yeah.
I can see that it's well written with the characters, but I just think there's so little threat in it and stuff to care about, and I think it kind of botches the beginning of their... Given them making a concerted effort to do a story arc for the whole season, it's kind of like...
epic quest.
And here we are with
Two
a
words.
bit of a
Two
con
words.
trick. Yeah.
Mary Tam.
You didn't like the Pirate Planet, though, and she's got Buccaneer boots in that.
Make of you will. Make what you will of those words.
Well...
There are those who'll be for them. There'll be those who are against them.
Right, Jim's wielding his cracker.
Right, so John, if you could give me a little hand with this. Oh.
They're not very snappy, these crackers.
Jesus
Oh, Jesus,
Christ.
you're right, Jim.
Singed the old beard there.
Wow.
We need to get some health and safety in here.
That was like Sophie Aldred doing the battlefield stunt.
No, you were far more convincing.
Oh, so... oh, you toe rag. So, if an existing Bond film was reimagined with the contemporary TV Doctor replacing 007, which of these three options would you rather see?
I'm glad you narrowed this down. This could have been a very deep dive into Wikipedia at this point.
Pertwee versus Christopher Lee and Nick Nack for Man with a Golden Gun. Tom Baker and Lalla Ward stop Hugo Drax's dreams of space conquest in Moonraker.
Oh.
Sylvester McCoy and Ace take on Colombian drug lords in License to Kill. Those toe rag, those bilge bag drug lords.
Don't you want to know why?
I think that's the clear answer. Given, even for Bond films, that was quite brutal. The idea of the wily Seventh Doctor infiltrating.
Infiltrating Robert Darby's crime syndicate. Yeah, it would have to be that.
Right.
Come on, we got Doctor Who to review.
Woo!
Was it his imagination? bad bit of beef or an undigested potato, perhaps? Or was Ebenezer Scrooge truly visited by a shadow from beyond the grave? Oh, I do love a good ghost story at Christmas. Don't you?
All right, so we've had a drink. We're all fully loaded up on food.
All right,
we've
all had
enjoyed
a
a
drink.
game.
We've all had a drink.
We've all had a drink. But we've got some serious business to take care of here. Jim, just polishing off a mince pie there.
Yeah.
John, tell us what happens in A Christmas Carol.
So, right, there is a passenger space liner. That's the second Christmas special that involves a luxury passenger space liner, isn't it?
Go on.
So, bit derivative, Steve. A passenger space liner with Amy and Rory.
In a Doctor Who special called A Christmas Carol that involves a time travelling, suggesting it's derivative because of the presence of a space liner 2 years earlier.
Which was itself
Carry
ripped
on.
off from the real world.
Carry on.
Listen, the speakers are fine.
Okay, so they're on a space liner.
Yeah, Amy and Rory, they're...
The stakes are so high for you there, aren't they?
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, Amy. Oh my God, Amy and Rory, and it's heading for disaster unless the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, can convince the zillionaire misanthrope Karzan Sardik to use his atmospheric control system to save the ship. This apparently is harder than it sounds, so the Doctor employs time travel and Welsh romance lullaby singer Catherine Jenkins to discover what has made Karzan quite so bitter and to convince him to do the right thing.
Did you enjoy this story, John?
It's all right. I mean, it's all right, isn't it? It's fine. It's
Thanks,
a bit
John.
It's a bit of moving wallpaper on Christmas Day. There's a nice bit of a sing-song. I don't deny that it sounds, like when Catherine Jenkins is singing In the Bleak Weird Winter, it's a bit supermarket CD. I won't deny. But there's visuals, there's sleighs and snow, and it all looks a bit Dickensian. Michael Gambon sort of chews the furniture in a very Michael Gambon way. Mm-hmm. I think it's fine. It's all right. It's not great. It's all right. Merry Christmas, everyone.
This is Moffat's first Christmas special. It was a tradition by now that there were going to be Christmas Day sort of Doctor Who things. And I do think it's kind of interesting that I think when we reviewed Christmas Invasion a few years back, I remember my thoughts at the time, like 2005, were, gosh, it's going to become a tradition. The first Christmas special is using the trappings of Christmas and making them sinister. And I was thinking, well, God, what else can they possibly do for
Is that
Christmas Day
sustainable?
stories?
Yes.
Yeah. The Nativity is still going to be a bit off the page, isn't it? Christmas Carol just seemed like a very obvious one to do. And I'm not having a go at Moffat for this, but I think it's interesting that this was the first Christmas special he did, and he went for that.
Yes.
Whereas I'm going to say it must have occurred to RTD quite early on that could have been a potential idea to do a Christmas special based on that. And he generally went for self-contained episodes which happened to be set at Christmas.
Yes.
They had just the trappings. They didn't have anything else there. So I'm not having a go at Moffat for that, but I think it's interesting that he's gone straight for that one because there's an obvious thing that you can do there with Doctor Who with the time travel. So what did I think of this? I've not seen it. I think I saw it once again after it came out, not long after, but this is the first time I've seen it in a very long time. Gambon's fantastic. I like him anyway. Obviously, he's a very good actor, but particularly here he's pretty much playing Albert Spicker from The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover. But he's really great in it, and I'm not sure if he's played Scrooge before, but he does a really good job here. The fact that it does centre on that idea of the Doctor using time travel to go back, not just to have the ghosts there to clear it that way, but the fact that he actually monkeys around with Gambon's timeline. I'm not sure what I think of that. And it does make me think back to the RTD ones and think he probably got the right thing of just saying the Christmas Day special is going to be watched by a lot of people who don't usually watch this, so just make it big and bold. It's Catherine Tate and a giant spider. It's Kylie on the Titanic in space. Whereas this probably does... Moffat has an advantage here that everyone knows Christmas Carol so well.
Yes.
That you don't really have to concern yourself with how the time travel
mechanics
stuff
of it.
works in it. So it's probably a good idea to get it out of the way. Broadly, I didn't think this was great, but I didn't hate it. I'll talk a bit more about that later. But Matt, what did you think?
That's more or less how I came to it, yeah.
Well, I'm going to perhaps be a little more festive than two of you. I really like this. I think it gets passed from me. It was quite interesting. This is the first time I've watched it since Christmas Day 2010. And I remember enjoying it at the time. But I also remember coming off the back of a series that I felt was underwhelming, whether or, at the time it might simply have just been the relief that I think that this dodged many of the major pitfalls of the preceding season. I felt that the previous season had been sort of quite small scale, uninvolving, very self-involved, and I think anchored to characters in the form of, the Amy, Rory, Doctor love triangle, which we discussed last month when we looked at Amy's Choice, that for me didn't work. So I was very underwhelmed by season 5. I really enjoyed this on Christmas Day. And I was slightly apprehensive rewatching it this morning for this, because I thought, actually, now am I going to see it in its true colours? And I've got to say, to me, it really holds up. I agree essentially with what the two of you have said, but for me, a lot of this, actually, I would reframe as positives. Doctor Who doing A Christmas Carol feels like a really obvious Route 1 idea. But I would also say at this point, some sort of 47 years into Doctor Who.
Well, let's not forget Trial of a Time Lord.
Well, true. Well, let's
try and forget.
Let's try and forget Trial of a Time Lord. But other than that sort of past, present, future idea, this idea hasn't been done. And actually, if there's a really obvious idea for a Doctor Who story that hasn't been done in the first 47 years, I give Stephen Moffat full credit for seizing that with both hands. What he does with the Christmas Carol story, I think, works quite well in that, first of all, he's very upfront about it. There's the bit where the Doctor is in the snow and he says, a Christmas Carol. He may as well say, let's Dickens this fucker to try and sort it out. So he owns it at the beginning. And then actually, I think the twist that rather than it simply being the Doctor's intervention shows him the error of his ways, the twist that, spoilers ahead, the reason why Sardik is so sort of withdrawn and self-involved is precisely because of the Doctor's monkeying as opposed to a response to it, I think is a worthwhile twist, both within the story itself and so that it's not just a retread of the Dickens. First of all, taking a very obvious influence, then running with it, and then putting a nice spin on it. I think Moffat does a good job here. There's always... I think I speak for all three of us when I say the hackles always rise when Moffat starts doing clever dick time travel stuff. But equally, I would say within the context of doing a spin on A Christmas Carol, it's entirely earned here. It's also completely self-contained. It's not like it's a cop-out resolution to something you've been tracking for the last 13 weeks that's deeply infuriating. So, yeah, in that sense, I think it avoids a lot of the creative pitfalls of the previous series. Then I think in terms of its dressing, I think there's just so much to like here. I think Gambon is fantastic. I think he's got a really good read on Scrooge in terms of how he sort of zones in and out of speaking with more of a kind of new money kind of estuary accent. So he's not just a sort of aristocratic character as he does in the youth. There's a lot of different sides to him that he plays. He's just a really good actor, and it's like what we were saying with Toby Jones last month. He's always going to shine to an extent. Also, it looks fantastic, and I think this was the real tipping point for where the one thing I will unambiguously praise the Stephen Moffat era for pretty much from this point onwards is that the direction is absolutely terrific. Whereas bits of Series 5 look a bit sort of spotty and not terribly well resourced, thinking the biggest mining project in the world ever that we looked at in the Hungry Earth. This looks amazing, and the after the credits, the opening shot, the panning down from the sky and across the marketplace and then back up and then into Michael Gambon's window as a single tracking shot is beautifully realised. Another thing which I will always praise Moffat for is his grasp of an image, even if he doesn't always know what to do with it. I think that moment where the Doctor goes outside and sees the fish swimming around the lamp in the fog, that's a lovely, surreal, odd moment.
Murray Gold really brings it with the music at that point. It's like something out of Fantasia.
I know.
It's really brilliant. Yeah.
It's wonderful. I mean, it's obviously striving for a level of... I mean, as you say, RTD's approach was basically make popcorn Doctor Who.
Big bold
for Christmas
idea.
Day. Big bold idea, easy to grasp, big name actor in the guest cast. I think that works as an approach. I think Moffat's going for something a little more multi-layered here, but I think it still has the feel of a Christmas Day family festive blockbuster. I really like it. I've got a few niggles. I think this is the point where, unfortunately, they really start writing the 11th Doctor around the performance. Mm-hmm. So some of those scenes, especially near the start of it, where he's just rabbiting endlessly. I mean, I watched this with my wife in the room, and she just looked up from her iPad at one point and just said, "Oh, will you shut the fuck up?" And he's just continuously talking. And so
he really lays it on a bit thick. I mean, we in our previous episode we reviewed Frontier in Space and Planet of the Daleks, and in both of those, the Third Doctor has some telling moments of emotional connection. There's only one moment of emotional connection in Planet of the Daleks, which is the bit at the end where he implores them not to glorify war. There's a wonderful bit in Frontier in Space where he discusses with Jo to reassure her that she won't be tortured, or if she is, that it won't be too bad. It's a high level stuff. The one major beat he hits in the cupboard with the young Kazran is that he wears the bow tie and he doesn't care, and that's why it's cool. Which is, I'm not dissing that as a point. That
it's just endless. I mean,
but it's just not that. I just feel when the emotional high beat there from the Doctor's point of view is something, I don't know, it just feels a bit low rent. By contrast, however, I can't agree enough. Gambon is amazing, and he conveys the director. You've already praised the direction. Toby Haynes does a great job to go.
Just one of the real finds of the Moffat era. I mean, pretty much everything he's directed for Doctor Who's
and he basically
amazing.
Goes, do you know what? We've got an A-lister. We've cast him as someone who has pain throughout his life, and he can actually do pain and hurt. So every time he's painful and hurt, let's do a big old close-up on his face, because this guy can really sell it. So he does that. And
he does.
And quite apart from the visuals, the sort of carriage being ridden through the sky by the shark and all that sort of stuff. It's great. And, it whistles along. I watched this with my wife, and I have to be honest, she insisted on a mention because she was the one who actually went out and bought the Christmas buffet.
Oh, that was good of her.
So big shout out to her.
Thanks for that.
Cheers.
Claire says that Catherine Jenkins was a lot, quote, better than you might think. She paused and rephrased it. She's not shit, which means she outdoes expectations.
It's worth pointing out she's not an actress.
Exactly. Yeah, she is a singer. And the fact that they get her to do the song, I actually think, having praised Murray Gold earlier for the bit with the fish, the arrangement of In the Bleak With Winter, like I said, it sounds really supermarket CD. Yeah. It's really poor, which isn't her fault. But it's almost like, just in the grand tradition of sort of light entertainment shows, it's almost as if someone turns to the camera and says, well, we've had some great fun with the sketches, but tonight we've got a real star. Like Little and Large having the musical segment or something. And do you know what? Fair enough, because it is a piece of light entertainment on Christmas Day that is just on in the background. I suppose it's drama, but you know what I mean? It's filling that moving wallpaper, festive sort of light and sound. And I have no objection to it. I didn't hate this. I want to be very clear. I don't hate it, but just actually watching it, not on the day, not full of turkey, not like 5 pints down, it doesn't quite live up, but it does what it wants to do, and I think it does it very well. My one really bum note in it is the whole stuff with Amy and Rory on their honeymoon. The whole, isn't it hilarious that they're about to do some crazy sex game where she's in a police outfit and she's again objectified with the short skirt, and it's just.
In fairness, so is Rory, though.
His bloody Centurion
he's
outfit.
very much just a sex object there.
I just don't care about any of them.
But it's also worth pointing out, I mean, how much more engaging is this for not really having them in it? I mean, you do realise what a drag on the narrative they are. And you realise how actually it's, sort of quite interesting that, as we're going into this next year's series of Doctor Who, we now know at least one of the companions is going to be a character who is much older than the actress playing Doctor Who. So Bradley Walsh, obviously in his mid-50s, Jodie Whittaker in her mid-30s. Matt Smith is routinely brilliant paired with people much older or much younger than him. I agree with you that in the script, the bow tie's a cool moment meant to be an emotional beat doesn't come up to the mark. But Matt Smith's interaction with the kid version of Sardik is really, really good. Ditto. There's
a chemistry there that entirely doesn't exist with Karen Gillan.
Well, it's like I've always said that I think that Matt Smith is much better with the young Amelia Pond than he is with Karen Gillan. Ditto, him squaring off against Gambon, you also do feel, and I think it's a testament to the fact that Matt Smith can portray the older man, that you do feel that they are both fairly powerful characters squaring off against each other.
It's more interesting, him and River, than it is with him and Amy.
Absolutely. The mistake that they routinely make is to pair him, as a young guy playing the Doctor, is to pair him with people who are conspicuous the same age group, which is why, at its worst, the Doctor, Amy and Rory sort of trio comes across as a bit of a sort of sci-fi Scooby Gang, really, kind of brat
the power
pack.
of three.
Yeah, so it's interesting that extracting them from the narrative, and I remember that was one of the reasons why I remember enjoying it so much at the time, was that suddenly you just got this sense that this series could work a lot better with Stephen Moffat writing it and with Matt Smith in the lead role if they weren't so preoccupied on these failed characters, basically.
As I said earlier, it is notable that RTD went for the big, bold ideas for Christmas. And it's not just this Christmas special that Moffat goes for the whole spirit of Christmas thing. It seems to be successive ones. I don't know if that's a point you want to sort of elaborate on, but it's just, for me, this is one of the things for me is, if you yourself aren't that, if you don't really buy into Christmas on that level of, I mean, for Christmas for me, I actually quite like again now after some years of not finding it just a pain in the arse to have to go all the way back home to the Midlands and whatnot. Now I actually quite enjoy it as a glittery punctuation mark and just drawing a line before the new year staggers on again. But if your Christmas special really is about the milk of human kindness and
the
all
true
of these
meaning of Christmas,
not the Christ is born thing, but yeah, the human loveliness of
but
it.
it is spiritual, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is quite clearly spiritual.
If you don't buy that, it can leave it a bit flat, and that was an issue for me with this, and I'm going to say probably a lot of his other Christmas specials as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think this is the best of his Christmas specials, although I do also rather like Last Christmas, the first Peter Capaldi one. I've not actually seen the Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, so I look forward to actually... No, I've never seen that.
Gosh, you're in for a treat there.
Well, it was one of those. It was one of those things where, like, I recorded it on the day because obviously I was at a family thing and didn't watch it when it went out. And then a few days afterwards, you're packing away the Christmas tree. Didn't really seem like I really wanted to watch it, and then kind of got away from me.
Blimey.
So obviously I'm.
Is there any other new Who that you've never seen?
Yes, there's a couple of episodes. There's a few Matt Smiths that I've never seen.
Really?
The Girl Who Waited, I've never seen, from season 6. And actually, one of the aforementioned Gatesees, the Night Terrors, I've never seen. It's weird that, so I've not seen The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe. I mean, obviously, we will review all of the other episodes in due course, but I think it's almost like we get to the point, to me, the real low ebb of the Moffat Christmas specials is the Dr. Mysterio one, where it's almost just like...
lovely phrase.
Yeah.
The low ebb of the Moffat.
It's so will this do?
I mean, it's totally will this do.
There's like literally 1 minute of content involving Nardole, which is great, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
No, there's absolutely nothing going on in that one.
Join us in 8 years' time.
Join us in 8 years' time for me to...
Put a bit of meat on the bones with
I'll
that
expand
and
on
it's so
that.
curious that such a terrific season came up after that, but that's... I guess we'll get to that in the...
Well, it's fair to say
time.
between that and Sherlock last year, Moffat... For me, Moffat did not contribute much to Christmas TV, and then I think made comfortably his best series of Doctor Who.
Totally agree.
And one that I think does rank up there as one of the greats of the new series this year. But anyway, this is beside the point. In some ways, my thoughts on this loop back a bit to what you were saying about the Christmas invasion, which is so based around the sort of trappings of the British Christmas, and mine's pretty much all of them, where you think there's nowhere else to go. And obviously Stephen Moffat is a very different kind of storyteller to Russell T Davies, and this is much more in line with the kind of stories he likes to tell. But it's almost in some ways he throws everything into this, and this is almost like the pure distillation of what a very, very Christmassy Stephen Moffat story could be. And he leaves himself sort of very limited other places to go afterwards, to the point where by the time you get to Dr. Mysterio, he's just asking, what kind of films do people like watching at Christmas? And just as Davis said, The Poseidon Adventure or The Towering Inferno, he said Batman or whatever. But
the 1978 Superman.
Sorry, yes, the 1978 Richard Donner Superman film. So I think, this. I think Christmas Invasion is Davis's best Christmas episode. I think this is Moffat's best Christmas episode because it's like, it's Christmas Doctor Who. Whatever it is you bring to the table, you'll probably work out there and then. And then when you have to solve the same problem next year, you're likely to come up with a less interesting solution.
Does this get too dark at points? It does actually feature...
We all have to die!
Or the bit where he shouts, "Nobody ever comes," which is quite.
But no, we got a child being.
I don't think so.
Or the threat of child being slapped around, and just the idea of Catherine Jenkins.
But to me, this feels
just
very.
The fact that she's definitely going to die.
The mortality's right up there, isn't it?
But this kind of feels of a piece with that kind of fantasy peril that you get in the kind of Harry Potter films, which I think is obviously what it's trying to ape in a lot of its kind of magical styling as well. I mean, obviously I know John is a big fan of those and probably...
And even the casting of Gambon.
Yes, absolutely. No, I don't think it gets
I remember thinking if I was really watching this on Christmas Day, I'd have been really upset that Catherine Jenkins died and that they hadn't done a sort of tenanty.
Yeah, well, they kind of leave that hovering that it's going to happen, but they don't actually.
She's going to die that night.
Yeah,
but they're all going to go off and have fun.
Yeah,
and it's like
it does seem
I don't like that
especially
at all.
The fact there's the romantic element and there's clearly a considerable age gap there.
By the time
I don't know what's going to be going on that.
Oh yeah, but it's an older man and a younger woman, so that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah,
okay,
that's all right.
Yeah.
No, that left a nasty taste for me. Just to be clear, the fact that the fact that she's going to die. I just remember thinking if I was really, really watching that on Christmas Day, I'd have expected, and it would have cost nothing to have
written a line saying, "Oh, I've miraculously cured her."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you know what? I mean, spoilers, but the snowman fucking melts at the end, and that still devastates me when I watch it at Christmas.
Yeah, but Raymond Briggs is really depressing. I mean,
Fungus the bogeyman, and
yeah. What about
his Falklands one as well?
What's the? Did he do a Falklands one?
I think he did.
He did an atomic bomb one.
There's When the Wind Blows. Yeah.
When the wind blows.
Catherine Jenkins available.
Yes. Oh, you absolute Scrooge, Matt.
What?
Catherine Jenkins should not die because it's Christmas Day.
Oh, okay.
And that, for me, is a deal breaker.
The snowman deserves to melt, is it what you're saying?
Oh, the kid being in the dressing gown is a direct homage to the snowman as well. I thought that was really sweet.
Going back to Amy and Rory.
Do we have to?
Well,
come on, Jim, it's
again,
Christmas.
I mean, I said this last time about watching Frontier in Space, and even if it was a bit low on drama, you can see the obstacles the writer had to get round there. How am I going to do this? And with this, one thing I did like about it is thinking, well, Moffat's going to have to do a Christmas Carol, or he's decided to. How's he going to fit that in? The thing is, if he did literally a Christmas Carol, there'd be no reason for the Doctor to go and decide to save this guy's soul, who's an absolute bastard. So, in order to give it a ticking clock element, we've got Amy and Rory in the ship. But does that work for you? Because it seems like it's a peril and then they're left off screen for a lot of it. You've said you quite like the fact they're not in it that much, but does it feel like a bit of a cheap thing that they're there and then they take a massive, even the concept that they're there takes a massive backseat?
Doesn't. I mean, it's sort of used as colour. The fact that he doesn't care that 4,000 people are going to die is also a great way to sort of illustrate what a broken guy he is. I mean, also, it's a side note. I did quite like the fact that, and this is probably more of a direction and design thing, they are explicitly homaging Star Trek.
Oh, God, yeah. And it had only just come out that year.
Well, yeah, certainly the J.J. Abrams complete with all the
screen
lens
flares,
flare and everything kicking off. But I did quite enjoy that because I just I'm not sure if Doctor Who has ever explicitly homaged Star Trek before, and I thought that was a nice nod. But no, I mean, it's a ticking time bomb in the background to motor things along, and you dip back into it whenever you need a bit of peril. I think in the way that Moffat can deliver when he's firing on all cylinders, this is, I think, a fairly elegantly structured piece of writing.
The one sort of socioeconomic beat that it kind of hit was the fact that his family had come up with this sky control mechanism, and as a result of that held dominion over everybody, and it was kind of a sense of monopoly and rent seeking from the fact that one generation had done this thing, and that privilege and power over other people was handed down generation after generation. And it was pretty clear that the moral backbone of the story was that was wrong. And I think you very seldom get an hour of kids TV whiz bang, lots of special effects on Christmas Day that makes so eloquently the case for inheritance tax. So for that reason alone, I suppose it deserves
Merry Christmas, listener.
It does deserve some praise.
Sing a song of Christmas. Sing it in your heart. Let the light of Christmas fill your heart.
That was our review of Christmas Carol, but just when you thought it might be safe to fast forward through the usual bit at the end where we give out our email address, Jim has got some more festive fun for us.
All right. In what shape?
Stephen Moffat is leaving after a long and distinguished chunk of time.
I shall raise my glass to him.
Are we going to have a whip round?
I don't think he needs it. But what I've prepared, because a lot of listeners will be stuck with their families this Christmas, and when things get a bit boring, they might be playing Scrabble or something, Hangman. They might also be playing the popular game Taboo. Are you familiar with that?
Is that with the thing with Tom Hardy in it? Thomas Hardy, the author of Tess and the Turbervilles.
This is Tom Hardy's Victoriana melodrama, was it? No, that was quite good fun, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Taboo, if you don't know, is a game where you'd usually have two teams and one has to get the teammate to identify a word, a bit like charades, but you're giving them clues as to what the thing on the card says.
Oh, so it works on a podcast.
It will work on a podcast.
Great content, guys.
Well, let's see how it goes. These are all Moffat themed. That's your little clue.
Okay.
We're not playing it in teams. It'll be Matt and John trying to help each other out.
Oh, right.
I've given you a few key things from Stephen Moffat's era. You've got to get the other person to identify what it is, but I have put, it's worth spending just a second reading those, the things that you can't say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so who wants to go first? Who wants to be the...
John looks like he has a better grasp of the rules at this point, whereas I'm slightly shaky.
I'm going to give you 1 minute starting from now.
So, Matt Smith travels with...
Amy Pond.
And...
Clara Oswald and Rory.
Right.
Yeah.
The latter of those.
Rory.
And there's something that happens to him.
He becomes an auton.
No, it happens
he
to
dies
him
frequently. Yes, Rory
well
dies.
Done.
Rory dies.
Rory's
Got that
frequent
in
death.
20
Yay.
seconds.
Go on. Yeah.
Okay, can I start, Jim?
Yes.
You've got a minute. Yes. It was a decision made,
The cancellation of Doctor Who.
possibly, it's not been made yet, possibly with an eye to merchandising involving a variety of colours.
Oh, the rebranding of the Daleks.
Yes.
Whoa.
Dalek redesign for
The
Victory.
rebranding of the
Daleks.
Daleks is actually the two-parter for the next season, isn't it?
And I succeeded in not saying Bill Patterson as the card insisted, so
okay.
Credit for
I'm
me
making
there.
these too easy. So, John, there's
Have
your...
fabulous verbal acuity.
there's your next one.
Okay.
Okay?
So... okay, a Matt Smith...
Ronnie Corbett's back.
A Matt Smith era character
Right.
in 2 episodes.
It's the James Corden character,
Oh.
Craig. What's his surname?
No,
do
no,
I have
you-
to give his
you-
surname?
you
Just
Craig.
basically-
James Corden as guest star was enough. I thought you may have forgotten all about him.
Jim, this is a great. Have you copyrighted this?
No.
We're playing.
I was hoping it would be harder.
Oh no way! You ripped it off Taboo.
Okay. Go.
It is a character, but a
Samalom Glitz.
a real life character who appeared in
Elizabeth I.
a
Marilyn Monroe.
Moffat era story, who was a
Winston
male,
Churchill.
getting warmer, portrayed
Hitler.
badly by an actor who was wearing a giant prosthetic nose, I seem to remember.
Richard Nixon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Historical guest star Richard Nixon.
I love the fact you said Churchill getting warmer and I went, Hitler.
I like the idea that had Jim had some sort of accident on the way over here and they were desperately going through his wallet in order to find some information on who he was.
Richard Nixon is here.
Kin. It's like, who is this guy?
Well, Matt Bombshell.
We've
Thanks,
got,
Jim. That
we've
was
got
terrific.
nothing but love for Moffat.
Stephen Moffat's final episode. Look, I think the last 3 years of his TV has been getting better and better. I would also say, look, quite a lot of it I don't... Look,
Come on.
Steve. There's quite a lot of it I don't like, but in the spirit of Christmas, I would say that very often he was nothing short of ambitious if he wasn't always either skilled enough or surrounded by the right people to make good on that ambition. He's made plenty of Doctor Who that I've enjoyed. Fair amount more that I haven't, but I wish him well.
Yeah, I think, to share you in the spirit of the season, look, I've been very, very down on the Matt Smith era, and I think that might make it sound like I've really disliked everything he's done, whereas
We've not touched the Capaldi era yet,
No,
apart from one
and-
episode. So,
And though I don't think... I think it's a steadily rising curve on the Capaldi era to the extent that season 10 is, for me, far and away Moffat's best season.
absolutely.
And not just his best, but one I really enjoyed. So on that basis, I can't look at Moffat in aggregate and say I hate all his work, because I clearly don't. But I think that season 10 in particular wasn't just an upward curve. Season 10 is light years even better than series 8 and 9. He's learnt some lessons, and it seems like he's even taken on board some of the feedback that people had, or at least that's the way it feels, or he's just decided that he wants to do something different, and he's doing something different meant that he addressed some of the concerns that people had about his clever dick thinking. And of course, for the first time, he delivered us a companion that worked. I mean, for the very first time with Bill.
Absolutely.
On that basis, I can't say that I hate everything he's done. I dislike a large amount of it, though, and I think the whole of the Matt Smith era, sadly, is a bit of a write-off. But, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well, join us again next year.
Any warm words for Stephen Moffat, Jim, who'll be sitting there on Christmas Eve listening to the I'll Explain Later? Running to the petrol station to get a present, listening to see what the I'll Explain Later boys have to say.
Again, I like Bill. And I'm not going to say much more than that, I don't
Fair
think. No, last season was an improvement. But I know this sounds incredibly snarky, but it is a positive for me. When it went out, the last season and a bit of RTD was something that the show felt like it was running out of steam. And I'm going to say, as a result of Moffat, I now look back on that and realise quite how incredibly good it was. So that's my takeaway. I know that sounds very bitter, but this is it. I don't think Moffat is a bad writer. It's just the flavour of Doctor Who he does is not for me. So he's not terrible. It's just the show's not for me. So I am looking forward to seeing what a new showrunner does. Whole new era, hopefully. It sounds like pretty much everything's going to change, But yeah, given I do really enjoy those early RTDs, it's great to now look back on them and really see them. Possibly just the distance of time would have done that anyway. But now I really think, that's something precious that I cherish.
Well, join us next Christmas when I'm sure we'll be receiving an object lesson and being careful what you wish for.
Okay. But yeah, have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
We'll be looking back on the classic Moffat era.
Don't forget, New Year listener drinks at the Blue Posts on Newman Street on the 3rd of February. And as always, emails to hello@I'llExplainLater.com, Twitter @ExplainLaterPod, Facebook.com/I'llExplainLater, reviews on Apple Podcasts, please. Thank you very much. And all that remains to say, have a wonderful Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And don't forget, following Ian Levine's Twitter isn't just for Christmas.
It is for life.
It's for life. Merry Christmas.
Moffat quits this Christmas. Capaldi's going too. Making way for Chibnall, yeah. With Jodie's Doctor Who. And it feels so long since we got stuck with Amy Pond. Those Clara Oswalds, oh Christ and River Song, they'll all be gone this Christmas. There's just twice upon a time, and then we're clear. There's someone else's heart, no. Let's hope it's Danny Pink. Gatiss does some acting. Oh, I'm gonna need a drink. But remember when it started Skinner 6 years back. Boy, what a stinker. It had evacuees, Bill Bailey and some trees. Then there was Sleep No More. A good man goes to war. Remember those Daleks in Victory? Matt Smith shouting at the sun. And that second Gaiman one. Ugh. Not sure about Jodie's trousers or that rainbow on her chest. Still, at least it's not a bow tie, no. Or that stupid fucking fez. So it's fingers crossed the show gets better, to be fair. Bill was quite good, but hark, what's that I hear? It's Bradley Walsh next year. Take a look at the driver next to me, tweeting something obscene. Oh, it's Ian Levine, Ian Levine, yeah.
You know what? When I get this podcast into the edit, this bit will come right down.
This is going to be the bit at the end that no one listens to.
Yeah.